In this particular subtask of the URL Shortener project, we will actually be referencing this function which we created in the previous subtask using this shorten URL function. Let's see the list of tasks for this particular subtask. First, we should ask the user to give an input and check whether or not it's empty. And if it's empty, we're going to give an error message. And we're going to check if the URL has already been shortened by the user. That is, we're going to reference the data dictionary and we're going to see if the shortened URL actually exists, and if it does, we are going to give out this message. And in case it's not already existing in the dictionary, we are going to generate the URL and we're going to store it in the dictionary. So over here we have to call this function, and as I told previously, we're going to store the short URL as the key and the original URL as the value in the dictionary. And we're going to display the newly created short URL. First, we're going to import hashlib library and initialize the data dictionary. And this particular code has been explained in the previous subtask. So let's look at this particular function. So first we'll take the long URL as an input from the user, and then we're going to add dot strip to remove any white spaces in case if there are any. And then over here, this particular if statement is going to check whether or not the given URL is empty. So if in this particular if statement, if not long URL means if long URL does not exist, which basically means if long URL is empty, then we're going to print out error URL cannot be empty, or else you're going to run a for loop over here. So in this particular for loop, what does short URL and data.item stand for? Short basically stands for the key of the data dictionary, which is basically the shortened URL. And the URL stands for the value of the data dictionary, which is basically the original long URL given. So data.items basically returns all key value pairs in the data dictionary as tuples. So basically in this for loop, we are looping through every key value pair present in data dictionary. So that is, we are checking over here if the input URL given by the user is already present in the dictionary. This URL is the value of the data dictionary. So basically we are going to print out that short URL already exists and give the shortened URL. And then we're going to be returning this. And then let's say if URL is not equal to long URL, that is basically the long URL given by the user isn't already present in the data dictionary, then what we are going to do is we are going to call the generate short URL function and give long URL as an input, and this will basically give us a short URL in this form. And then we are going to initialize the short URL and long URL as a key value pair in the data dictionary. Basically in the data dictionary, for the key value of short URL, we are going to give the value as long URL, and then we're going to print out the short URL. And then this will be defining the next subtask. And this particular block has been explained in the previous subtasks. And in the main function, first we're going to run out an infinite loop, and then we're going to print out and ask the user which option they want to choose. And we're going to take choice as an input, pass it on to user choice function. And if choice is 3, we will exit out of the while true loop and terminate the program. So let's just run this code once. So let's say I give shorten a URL, and then I give CodeChef.com. So you can see I have gotten the shortened URL. Which I click on, it's going to redirect me to CodeChef.com. So let's just submit this and see if it passes all the test cases. So as you can see, all 3 test cases have been passed, and let's move on to the next subtask.